I was raised both Buddhist and Christian Scientist, so I've been had a kind of complicated religious journey, um, and seen kind of the pluses and minuses of a lot of different belief systems, I guess, at least in my opinion. So yeah,
So you don't prescribe to a specific organized religion.
not currently.
Is that something you
I have
want to do?
I have considered. I actually spent some time with going to Catholic church, and I considered becoming a Catholic. I haven't quite decided.
Why for?
Um, why did I go to that one?
Well, why are you trying to pick a specific religious group? Is there a reason behind it? Well, of course there's a reason behind it. What is the reason behind it?
Um, Maybe yearning for a religion. So I don't know if I liked my religions. There, I mean, various. I don't know. That gets into some personal stuff that I don't know if I want to go into.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is obviously when people do things, they do them for a very specific reason. So when someone's
Have a
quote shopping for a religion, there's always an underlying reason as to why they're doing that. You know, are you seeking? You could
yes,
be seeking acceptance. You could be seeking someone to, justify your moral positions on things. You could be seeking more of a community. You could be seeking someone to have sex with. Right? There's a lot of reasons someone would join a religion.
sure.
What's your reason? What are you looking for in a religion?
Um, I don't know. I haven't. Well, I said I mean, I went through some very difficult things in my life, and that made me and I was frustrated with my own religion's problems. But I didn't feel like religion was like I still was looking for more of a spiritual connection, um,
When you
and
say
one that I could.
when you say spiritual, what do you mean by that? Like a tingly feeling or like more something deeper? Like what are you
Maybe,
talking about when you say spiritual?
yeah, maybe a little bit deeper, maybe something tingly, a little more of a connection with the divine than I have experienced in the past with the religions I was a part of, which um, led me to shop a little bit, as I said,
How do
and
you know
maybe
there's a divine to connect with?
I don't, but I feel like the one of the ways to find that out is to start looking at other religions, um,
So
and look at what they have to offer.
which religion are you currently most interested in? Catholic?
Yeah, that was the one I actually went to, initially. So
Why
I think
why'd you stop going?
Oh,
huh,
Adrian.
what?
Oh.
I think Red Angel was saying. What were you saying?
Adrian,
Are you asking me?
could I talk to you at the Tiny Table Lounge?
Yeah. Yeah. I'll head over there. All right.
So back to what I was asking. So what's the
Sure.
I'm trying to understand the purpose of why you're even looking for a religion if you're not sure that it's true.
Well, I don't know. So as a since unlike religion may be true, right? And God may exist. And I feel like the only way I can know that for sure is to look at various human attempts to understand God and see if they make sense to me.
Have you ever jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge?
No, I have not.
So you don't know what that feels like. It might be great. Yeah.
Yes, it might be.
But
But
you have no evidence to suggest that jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge would be a good thing to do.
sure. I mean I would agree.
So
Probably.
so I guess logically following that, why don't you jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Something you haven't experienced yet. It might be great.
Well, I would say that that a religion it seems like a considerably less risky thing to spend a day in a church for than going to jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge. So that's probably the reason.
Could it not be the case, right, that he has a disposition to particular religious notions, which can account for that?
You're talking about the anti-suicide thing. Well, so not everyone dies when they jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Some people do live. Not very many, obviously, but some do, and they obviously they talk about it as being a relatively negative experience. So there's some good evidence to
Yeah.
suggest jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge is a bad idea. But when we're talking about personal experiences in religions, I would say that you do run a massive risk entertaining religions for the sake of entertaining religions without fully
Well,
understanding the reason as to
Yeah.
why you're doing it.
Yeah, I
So
was going to ask, why do you think the stakes are so low to
What I'm
join a
saying
religion?
though is like you ask for like a reason.
I take the
Like
what?
what?
Why I think the what is so low?
the stakes.
Oh,
Well, let's let you say what you
well, I
say.
haven't. I know the stakes are quite. What do you mean the stakes are so low? I mean, until I
Well,
latch. I
when we
mean,
talk
You said
about
the risks of jumping off the bridge seemed self-evident, and obviously
oh,
based on some other things in reality that we
most
know.
people have been. Well,
Going
most
to a church
people.
seemed low stakes to you.
I mean, most people are. I know lots of people who are religious, and it doesn't seem to be, close to the destructive power of like a suicide attempt on their lives.
well not
So it doesn't seem to
not
have the
necessarily,
kind of.
right? Because the most valuable thing that you have on the planet Earth is your time, right? So when you're investing your time in a waste of time, you are essentially committing suicide, albeit very slowly, but you are in fact wasting your time. So
What
I wouldn't consider
I
it
think it's unfair. I think this is an unfair line of questioning, right? Because you're asking him for something that deductively follows, right? As a justification, right? But I don't see why he couldn't appeal to some notion of phenomenal conservatism, which would be some sort of theming as a justification.
I disagree that it's an unfair justification because I'm trying to understand why it is he wants to find a religion, like what the purpose of that is.
Yeah,
So it
yeah, but you're hoisting inferentialism on him.
um I mean, I disagree. I'm questioning him to find out what his end goal is of joining a religion. That's the only purpose of
Mhm.
the analogy, is to figure out why not jump off the Golden Gate Bridge as opposed to joining a religion. Because his
Yeah,
original statement was, "Oh well, I don't know. I haven't experienced. How I won't know something until I experience." That's why I use an extreme example. It's obviously ridiculous. I wouldn't expect him to jump off the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Obviously.
yeah. But what I'm
So
saying is like to ask for the deduction, right? Because you said, oh, that doesn't necessarily follow, right? But I'm saying, why couldn't he appeal to some other notion of justification, which isn't some type of inferentialism or some sort of deduction,
he
such
he
as like a theme?
he could, but he hasn't. And I asked him that question. I asked him specifically, like, why is it that you're looking for a religion? And it doesn't seem that he even knows 100% why.
Well, there's a variety of reasons, some of which I'm not willing to go into, right, with my life and things that have occurred. So that's why I'm not going to go into that, which is why I'm not going to follow that line of questioning.
Is
I,
it safe to say that
Didn't
trying to
didn't
figure
you
out
say
what's
the other day that it was mainly like gut feeling?
No, that's why I didn't believe in. That's why I believed in God. That's not necessarily why I'm going to religion. Though that does seem to be a good reason too. That might be a reason why I underline believe that there's some sort of higher power out there.
so when someone says they're not willing to talk about it because it's personal, and in my personal experience, I would say that usually it's because they view whatever it is that they're concealing to be fucked up. Would you agree with that statement, that if you were to be honest with society at large as to why you're looking for religion, they would view that as possibly fucked up?
No, they just would view it as like a personal, like just stuff that disclosing stuff about their life they wouldn't want to. Not that it's like not that my reasoning for joining is fucked up.
Question that I was interested in hearing his response
Yeah,
to.
I have
Yeah.
a number of questions still for Vaughn, which is the search for truth or the search for discovering what is real one of the main motivations for you when trying out these different religions?
And that's
Does it matter to
definitely
you if these things are true and real, or is it
um,
just out of comfort and intuitive feeling and gut instinct?
um I'd say both are probably important. Um, I think that I have a gut feeling that God is out there, and I feel like religion may be my mechanism for finding my connection to him or her
Well, you could pick any religion you want. The whole point of a religion is to give you a sense of safety. You know what I mean? Like a sense of comfort. It's the whole point. Any religion you look at is merely a theory. Like, because there's no way to prove anything they say. Because it's can't disprove it or prove it. It's
Well,
all going to be a theory. You're not going to find the answer if you want to. The point of religion is just to give you a sense of joy and safety.
well, that's why.
There's a lot of points to religion, but my question, Vaughn, for you would be: if there wasn't a God, and we knew that, how would that change your life or change this search? Would you abandon it? Would it make it meaningless?
It would definitely make me less not probably say that the search was probably not a good idea. And I should probably abandon it. That's what I would say.
You're saying the word probably. I'm not buying that. I think you're looking for a community to join. I think that's what's occurring here. Is that true?
No. I mean, I have other communities I'm a part of.
But I think you're looking for a very specific. I think you have a very specific reason for doing this, because you're not like most religious people I talk to. I'm just going to abandon all logic and say fuck it. I believe this, deal with it. You're saying I'm agnostic. I don't know. I want to know the truth. And you also say that you're looking for a community. So it seems to be the most overarching important part is that you're looking for something that you're not saying what it is, but there's clearly something there.
Sure, there's something. I said I wasn't going to go into it because it related to things in my past.
But the problem is, it's hard to engage in a discussion with this if one party is literally holding back the most important piece of information that there is.
Well, then let's end the discussion.
Yeah, we don't have to interrogate them if they don't want to get into stuff. Like, that's totally fine.
Yeah, he obviously has a personal reason.
Pussy.
Good chat.
Okay. Oh, I'm not trying to be a dick. It's just I find conversations where we're getting down to the nitty gritty truth of things to be super interesting and fun, right?
Maybe if I'm in like
look. I'll tell you what. If they don't want to talk, I'll talk to you because I'm also looking for a religion.
You, sir, are lying right now, and I can tell.
No, I'm really not. I spent like 4 hours in a Christian Discord trying to get them to prove to me which fucking religion was the correct one.
Oh, dude, that sucks. Vaughn just left. I totally scared the guy off. That sucks.
No, they're in the next channel. They're talking with men.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I think you were just trolling Christians. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, not really. I really joined looking for a religion, but then they kept telling me that I should believe because I feel it within me, and I say no, I don't feel it within me, and they're like everyone feels it within you, and I'm like, I don't.
So do you believe like God exists? You just don't have a particular religion in mind?
Well, I feel that there's a spiritual aspect to being conscious, being self-aware. Like if you like look at life in general, it really shouldn't exist.
Why not?
Why not?
Because there was nothingness, it was pitch black, and then we became self-aware, and I think just the fact of consciousness is a spiritual aspect to that.
You don't know that. You have no way of verifying that information whatsoever.
I said I feel. I didn't say it was true. I said I feel there's a spiritual aspect to being conscious.
That's not the part that
I think you were saying.
The void,
to the
the
part
blackness.
that it was pitch black and there was nothingness.
Yeah, you can't possibly know that.
It's the nothingness part, right? Like you could have some non-inferential justification that there's
there has to be a beginning, right?
No.
Does there?
No, there doesn't have to be a beginning.
Not necessarily.
Because if you're going to believe in God, you can't believe in a beginning. If you're going to make that belief system a core tenet of your life, you can't believe in nothingness. Otherwise, God is not God. God must be infinite. Otherwise, he's not God.
And it also, even if there was a beginning, it doesn't make sense to say there was nothingness and it was just dark and then the beginning happened. You can't use "and then" before the beginning.
Well,
yeah, you could say
who started the beginning?
You could use non-temporal language and say there is a particular empty world, in which there would be no restrictions on something popping
I get
into existence, if you will. But I mean, what would be the argument that there's meant to be?
Popping into existence kind of implies
Timeline.
a temporal.
There and then it's not, or vice versa.
I guess
Sorry?
I can't. I guess I really can't grasp the concept that there wasn't a beginning, because
Yeah,
how
so
I view it, there has to be a beginning to everything.
Do you mean a
If God's
beginning?
always
but-
been,
Well, then you think
that's
God
fine.
begins to exist.
You can say that there's a beginning, but it doesn't make sense for you to say talk about anything before the beginning. Because
Yeah,
if there was something
I
before the
didn't.
beginning, then it wasn't the beginning. Well, you did. You kind of said that there was darkness and a void, and then we became conscious.
Not just darkness and a void. There was no one there to perceive the darkness. So it wasn't black. It wasn't white. There
there
wasn't.
would be an absence of anything, right?
There
And
wasn't
Exactly.
molecules. There wasn't atoms. Like,
Uh-huh.
Except I'm not sure that's even an accurate acknowledgement of what we've scientifically discovered. But even so, you make a point that intuitively this doesn't seem to make sense. So what can you do with that intuition? If you don't think things can't have a beginning, what does that tell you about consciousness and its spooky spiritualness? What does that imply? What does that lead us towards? If we can't make sense of the world without a beginning, what does that lead to? For you.
I don't know, bro. I just I believe there's a beginning to everything.
yeah, then it would follow, though, on that view that if God exists, then God would begin to exist, which contradicts most views of God, which is that he doesn't begin to exist.
Well, I think
Yeah,
you're
sure.
shopping for a religion specifically. So what sort of a religion are you shopping for? What are you trying to?
Any that make any kind of logical sense to me.
Yeah, so you're an atheist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it might be like an ichtheist.
Well,
Yeah,
no,
I
Because if you
don't.
think
There's so
if
many
you think
different
if you
words
think
that I've heard today that I don't know the meaning of, like the names
yeah,
of
so
all the
basically
different
an
religions.
ichtheist is someone who believes that there are no coherent God concepts.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it's a
yeah,
comment.
what was the religion that the founding fathers were? The deist. I mean, you might as well just
Deism?
just pick be a deism, make up your own god. Fuck it. It's going to make as much
Yeah,
sense as
which
the
I get.
Christian religion or the Muslim religion or Scientology. So fuck it,
I
make up your
hate
own
the
god.
Christian. Well, the Christian religion is just. I have a hard time because I grew up in a Christian household, so like when I was young, I questioned I was told God created us. So I said, okay, who created God? Like, I just never been able to grasp the concept that, he's always been like it.
Is
That
there a
just doesn't
religion
make
that you
sense.
know of that has a good answer to that question? Because
Hell
that too is
no,
a question
bro.
I
They
ask
all
when I was a kid.
bullshit.
So like I said originally,
Nonsense.
before we entered in this conversation, you're fucking trolling.
I don't think he's
I'm
trolling.
not trolling, bro.
no, it doesn't mean he's trolling.
I don't know. It feels like he's trolling.
I feel like you a bitch. No, I'm trolling. I'm not
uh,
trolling, bro.
I
Do
would
anything.
I wouldn't say I'm a bitch. Just ask your mom.
How eighth grade of you?
You're
Oh,
having a
dude,
conversation.
that's how we roll, dude. That's how we roll up in here for sure.
I'll kiss you in your forehead. Leave me alone. You don't want to talk to me, don't talk to me.
Oh shit. Yeah, you're a troll. I mean, I called it within 2 seconds of talking to you. I don't know why you denied it. I mean, it's fine to be a troll. I found it entertaining.
What did I do that was trollish? What did I do to offend you?
No, I'm not offended. It's just you obviously don't believe in any religion, and you're not actually shopping for a religion.
This
You
is
have
an
already come.
atheist Discord, man. Like,
Yeah, you're an atheist sitting in here in an
No, he
atheist
could
Discord. That
believe in
makes
God,
this
sense.
is
and he could believe in God and not be religious. You know that, right?
Yeah, but that's not what he's
And there are
saying.
plenty
He's
of
saying he
atheists who are
doesn't
looking
believe
for
in God.
religions.
Yeah, but even that,
no.
there are legitimate atheists who are searching for God. They're called non-resistant non-believers,
Yeah, but
and
he's
they're
not
I'm
the
one of
looking.
them.
crux of the hang.
How do you
Well,
know?
how do you
Bro,
know
what do
that?
you know anything about me, dog? Like, all right, man. All right,
Well,
Because
cool.
you
I'll
just
Yeah,
mute.
said
I'll mute.
it's the way that
I'll
you're
mute.
answering
It
your
don't matter.
questions.
It don't matter, bro. It don't matter. I ain't here to argue with you. Y'all can talk. I'll listen. Any of y'all make sense?
No,
It's
I
fine.
mean, it's fine. You can totally talk. It's perfectly acceptable.
I
It's just
know what I can do. I know what I can do, but you dick riding me for no reason, bro. So
I'm not dick riding
it's
you.
fine. You are dick riding
I'm
me, bro.
questioning your beliefs, right? Which is what you wanted me to do. And now that we're doing it, you're uncomfortable because it seems
I'm
to
so
be.
not. Question me, bro. I'm here to talk. Question me.
I mean, we've already come to the truth, which is that you don't believe in God, or want to believe in God. You think it's all nonsense. You can't think of a scenario where
No,
I didn't say that.
I didn't say. Where are you getting these words from?
He didn't say he didn't want to.
I said I was looking for a religion. I like to believe that I'm a logical person, and any religion that I can view with my own logic that will make sense to me and will go by all my standards of logic. That's the religion I'm looking for. So, just
Let,
listening.
let's
so
say you
what
found a
what
religion
are
that
your
met your
standards of
logical.
what are your standards of logic that you're looking for in a religion?
Um,
Probably classical logic.
like it's hard for me to believe that a man walks on water because I know that isn't possible. It's
That's
hard
not a
for me to.
logical. That's not a logical notion. That's a nomological notion.
How is that not logical? Have you ever
Yeah,
seen?
like,
Have
I
you
mean,
ever
like
seen someone walk on water?
there's not
Let's
a
let
contradiction.
let's let
Right?
him explain his functional logic.
The thing,
Yeah,
my problem with religion is that it comes off more of magical powers that don't exist in the real world, not in the lifetime that I've lived. I've never seen someone walk on water. I've never seen someone turn water into wine. Like that just if you told me that, right? If my friend came to me and he was like, "Yo, I turned water into wine today." No the fuck you didn't.
yeah, but
Like
why
I'm
would
not
that
gonna
be
believe
like
that, and I'm not gonna believe it just because like
why
it
would
was
that
passed
be
down from generations. I think religion is very important for a civilization to be built because it gives us standards to live by. So that way, because anything on Earth is more of it's very a violent place. If you look at all animals, it's just very aggressive, and humans are aggressive and violent.
with the walk on water thing, right?
Hmm.
That's going to be some sort of like some people may call it a physical modality, right? Or it's not really a logic. It's not a logical modality.
It
So there's no
doesn't. It
con.
doesn't matter
By
if
my
it's like
logic, you cannot walk on water. That is
No,
by my
there's no
logic.
contradiction. There's no conjunction of P and not P in someone walking on water. There's not a contradiction in the sentence "I walked on water."
no, but it's a contradiction. He's
That's
not using formal logic. It's a contradiction of what we know about physics in the world and gravity
Well,
and
yeah,
everything.
it's physical
right.
modality, not logical
It's
modality.
Yeah,
Not everyone's in the
hold on.
same.
Let's
he's
not try
using
and trip him up on simple definitions and words, right? He doesn't know every word,
he,
and he's not a debate bro, which is perfectly fine.
yeah.
What do you
We
This
know
is the
about
we
me?
know
problem
what
with
he means.
philosophy. This is the problem with the philosophy. It gets in the way of a perfectly good conversation.
Yeah, so
Well,
we know what he means when he says logic. We all understand. No
and
need
you
to.
think it sort of
Induct.
confuses
Thank
it a
you.
bit, though?
He's
Because
using
someone may
inductive
take that to
reasoning.
be
Yeah.
someone may take that to mean that there's like a contradiction entailed, which isn't the case. That's all I'm saying.
Only a philosopher who has spent too much time reading and not enough time
We
just
should not read enough.
No,
talking.
wrong. You're both
No, it
wrong,
gets in the
right?
way of
Only
social.
a douchebag. That's the truth, right? Only a
Well, no,
douchebag
that
does
doesn't
this. You're
follow
the what
though.
if guy.
No,
You're the what if guy. The
He's
oh,
not.
I'm a
I
what
don't
if
want to be
guy.
that guy. You're that guy.
I'm just being precise in what we mean by logic.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
just using precise language.
Yeah,
It's okay. It's
just
not
Can
everyone's
you
in the
just
same.
just
Google the
use
definition of logic?
just use the colloquial terms. Don't use the academic
yeah. We're
terms.
I
we're
don't
just
use them colloquially though, like that.
I
You
didn't say
did.
Fine question.
anything
yeah.
about. I didn't say anything about there being a contradiction in the sentence of, I walked in water. That isn't what I mean. I mean
There's
that
violation of logic.
Okay.
I know from my lifetime that if I try to walk on water, I'm gonna sink.
Okay,
So
Yeah, that
I
may
have
be
some.
the
so
case. Inductively you can come to that assessment that
Yes, and
physically.
you're
that's what he's done. So
you're
just let it be.
you're
It's
unironically that
obvious to
dude,
everyone.
right? You're unironically
Does
that dude. Like we all know what he's talking about and what he's saying, and you're like wanting to correct the fuck out of him, right? Like we
it's
get it.
okay for
He's
people
talking
to
about
not
No, I'm just
reality.
know
trying to add some.
the
I'm just trying to
definition
add some
differences between
clarity.
with the types of logic and reasoning. That
You can
doesn't
just
really
let
matter.
him. You can
Yeah.
just let him
Make the
talk to
conversation.
me, man. Whatever. What do you got to say to me, man? Like, what is your problem with what I said?
Yeah, I was just trying to provide some clarity, right? Because you said you wanted to be like
You,
a logical
my God.
view, right?
Let him
Sorry,
talk.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
sorry. Did someone want to say something? Because
I
Yeah,
want you to
so
say something, Ken.
we're trying to get down to the truth of this person's beliefs and what he's looking for, right? And bogging the conversation down in the meaning of logic for transcendental
Right, see,
logic
hold on.
is a waste of time. He's talking about
Well, I mean,
reality.
that's
That's
just going to be like a relative thing, right? Whether you think it's a waste of time, but go ahead.
no, it is a waste of time because it doesn't get to the
Not
truth of the
necessarily.
matter.
Well, I disagree. It's a waste of time, but go ahead.
I have a couple questions that are just intuitive and normal. Okay, can we get to those, Billy?
Yeah.
What do you mean by intuitive? Define
I'm
intuitive.
just trying to speak
Just
logically.
Google it, bro.
Can we
You're
just
gonna have to
speak
Google
like?
it.
We
Let's
just
speak
like
like
logically
normal
for a
humans.
moment?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Okay.
give me a wish list. I'll buy you a dictionary.
So, Billy, I understand what you're saying about the religions you've seen seem to violate what to you sounds like normal logic and normal ways the world works. So, my
Right.
question for you is this: you said something about the need for religion as a structure and the inherent problems with humans in that
Mhm.
we're violent, we're vicious, we're selfish, all these things that we
Right.
can explain in more detail later. So, I
Right.
guess what I'm saying is this: do you think we need to appeal to something bigger and larger than just our base humanity in order to structure a
Yes.
good society? And
Yes.
why?
Exactly. I think if people aren't scared of a consequence for their bad actions, then they're gonna do what they want because they have no discipline. Religion gives you a discipline to live by.
My question is, do you think religion's the only way you can give people like proper consequences and motivations for good and bad behavior?
I think religion is a way to tell a story to get the point across of how to be a good person.
But what is it about religion's
So is
ability to
Harry
do that
Potter.
you can't, through secular means, tell those same stories?
What'd you say?
What is it unique about religion in its storytelling that is, in your view, more powerful in how it changes human behavior than secular or humanist ways of telling those same stories?
Everyone believes it. It's been passed down from generations, and people believe the book to be true. I think
So it's once again just
they
utility.
genuinely believe it to be true.
But do you see evidence in the world around you that people who are religious are somehow less violent or more following of laws or like don't act out on
Yeah.
the base things that people who are not
I
religious do?
think a lot of people don't do bad things just for the fear of what'll happen to them after they die.
So
Do you
if
have evidence for
that's
this, or is it just
so if
what
that's
makes you say that?
if we assume that presupposition to be true, how does that make you a moral person? If I don't rape people because I'm afraid of the consequences of rape, that doesn't mean I'm not fucked up. It means I'm scared. I'm a coward.
Exactly, but
Yeah, but the consequences are more
it
moral.
stops them from acting on their bad thoughts.
Is it
And
possible for
everyone
people to
has
have good
bad
moral
thoughts,
thoughts?
huh?
Is it possible for people to have good moral thoughts outside of religion?
Of course.
So
Is it possible that someone without religion could avoid the bad thoughts too?
Yeah, of course.
Then what is the utility of religion other than people already pre-believe it?
Well, you got to think when like religion goes back so far when civilization was just starting.
Bad news, it goes back earlier than religion, not religion. So this is what is appealing to its age have to do with its truth or its utility?
Because it starts at the beginning of civilization.
We were talking about this with Vaughn. Civilization existed much before religion.
Yeah, and it wasn't going well.
What are you talking about? It was going so well, it got us to this point. It got
I
us.
don't think
What do
so.
you mean? How are you determining society was bad?
I think
before religion?
it's true. I think it's true that religion absolutely aided in the development of human society today. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. Like it aided. It was a part of the process.
He doesn't agree on that.
I mean, not necessarily, but I
How
don't think that even is
I
necessary here.
don't get how
it
you
was a
believe it didn't help.
it was a core fundamental part of human civilization for probably at least thousands of years. Like every culture throughout the world that had no contact with each other, all of them had some religious affiliation of some sort.
Yeah, with
So
totally different moral standards, which doesn't
sure,
answer the fundamental
sure.
question.
I'm not saying that the moral standards of religion are better. I'm just saying that it's clear that organized religion was essentially the first form of government, and it aided us in creating society as we see it today. Like I don't feel like that's like a controversial point to agree to as an atheist or
I mean, the
or a
government part a
theist.
little bit, but
But I mean, that's what the early church was. It was a government, essentially. It was we can't watch you. We don't have surveillance. We can't prosecute you. We don't have evidence. So God's watching everything you're doing. And if you don't do what he says, aka government rules, then you're going to go to hell permanently. And people were dumb enough to fall for it. And that's what kept people in line. It was
But once
government.
again, there were power structures of how people acted on each other much before religion.
Yeah,
and
it was
it's not really related, but
well, that's not entirely true. There were power structures for sure, but the one that got most people to fall in line so that people stopped killing each other and raping each other so that civilization could be built was certainly religion.
what evidence if there is that?
I think it's just
Every
common knowledge.
civilization on the planet Earth, I mean, every single one, or at least known
Everyone
civilization
No,
that
has
I'm aware of.
religion.
You just said that
Are you
religion
saying that
directly
religion
correlates with
doesn't make
violent
people
growth.
kill?
Yeah,
Are
according
you
to
saying that
religion,
So
kill each other?
some religions were inherently violent, right? But they were very, like the Mayan religions were obviously very inherently violent. However, they were directed violence, and the general civilization in a whole directed their violence in a very specific direction, and they built a society around that. Not that I'm okay with killing people in the way that the Mayans did, but we can't dispute the fact that it aided their
Do you know
society
why?
for sure.
We absolutely can. We could say it's inhibited our society for as long as we've existed. Absolutely can.
But without it, would we have gotten to the point where it could have inhibited us at all?
That's unfalsifiable. We had no way to live the world differently than it did.
Yeah, but I agree with that, but we can't stray away from the fact that it did happen, and it clearly was a factor in our success. Like, obviously.
Once again, this is a tangent. I want to ask Billy.
Hold on. Can you demonstrate that it was a deliberate and unique, irrevocable factor in our success in comparison to all the things it did that held us back?
Can you restate the question?
Was a little wordy, yeah. You say, well, religion definitely led us to all the things we have now. You're completely ignoring all the times that religion deliberately stood in the way of human progress.
Absolutely,
Which is basically
absolutely not.
Every single time.
Absolutely not. I'm not saying that. Of course, religion has held us back scientifically. The first person that like full blown discovered the rotation of the Earth and gravity was a female, and she got burnt at the stake because she wasn't allowed to be doing science. That's fucking ridiculous, right? Obviously, that's stupid. I'm not saying it doesn't have its negative consequences, but we can't also ignore the fact that without it, we probably wouldn't have gotten to the point where we could burn scientists at the stake for disagreeing with the religion without the religion, the structure, the order that comes with the religion. It was a necessary step.
Utility.
Yeah,
How do you know it was necessary other than correlative?
Okay, so
demonstrate the causal link.
Yeah, sure, no problem, right? So people, when they have a common belief system and goal in mind, work better in tandem, right? So if you're going to build
that's not unique to religion.
I'm not saying
I'm
not saying it's unique to religion, but that is what humanity chose to do. We took religion, and that is the uniting force that we use to build civilizations throughout the planet Earth. That's what occurred.
There's a lot of work in that sentence. So the Israelites used their common cause of destroying the Amalekites with their religion. How did that demonstrably further the progress of humanity or their civilization, other than might is right, smashing and looting all the shit from the other people?
I'm not saying that everything that occurred back 2,000 years ago was moral. I'm saying that was a step on the way to where we are today. That's the only thing that's being stated here.
You have to understand that their beliefs back then are a lot different than our beliefs now. Religion has changed a lot since it did then. So in the Bible, it told them that was okay, so they did it.
No, an old man hallucinated that, and it was a vision from God. That's why they destroyed the Amalekites. It was fucked up, and the guy was probably schizophrenic. But we can't argue the fact that story united an entire group of people, the Roman Catholics, to build Rome.
For evil.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that was a part of it for sure, 100%.
All right, but you can't. There's no. Once again, this is unfalsifiable. We can't say that if Constantine didn't adopt Christianity, Rome would have gone any better or worse differently. Like, people make societies. That's what we do. We are social.
Yeah,
we don't need religion to do those things necessarily. Okay. Religion is often correlated or associated, but it's not causal.
Okay, so I'm not stating that that is the sole and only reason why Rome was built. I'm saying that it was definitely a reason why it was built. Without it, we don't know one way or the other if it would have been built or not built. We have no idea, right? I'm operating in
Now,
reality, and in reality, religion seems to aid the formation of society. That seems to be
does
abundantly true.
In
how?
reality, it
Where's that?
seems
How's
to
that abundantly true?
obliterate and hinder society.
Yeah, it. How is it as self-evident that religion aids societal progress? I don't see that at all.
I'm saying it did aid societal progress. I'm not saying that it will in the future. I'm saying that it did at the time.
So, like back to my scaffolding analogy, that it provided a utility at some point.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, for
Do
sure.
we have any way to cut off when or know how?
No, I don't know an exact date when religion became useless, but it was probably sometime after the formation of government and laws and punishment for breaking said laws and the
Yeah,
ability to
this
prosecute. So I would agree with you that the scaffolding analogy is a perfect one. We don't need it anymore, and we should get rid of it. It's dogma.
yeah,
It's ridiculous.
the
We
only
should get.
problem with this whole discussion is that it's extremely ahistoric, because humanity is not monolithic, and human cultures and societies did not change or move at the same pace at all. But once again, I understand what you're saying. My larger point here is for Billy, which is you're trying to make sense of what is self-evidently an immoral world we're living in, and you want to
No,
come to terms with that, make peace with that, make the world a better place. And you think religion's the only method by which you can get people to act better. Is that accurate or no?
um, I've noticed that whenever he's making sense, you switch to me.
Yeah, I've noticed that
He
too. I was
sounds a
I was
lot
gonna I was
smarter
gonna
than me,
call
so
I
just
was gonna
talking to
call him
him.
out for that shit. Like,
I mean,
good
cool.
job, Billy.
You think
No, I
if
agree.
you think I'm dumber than him, that's fine. But he sounds a lot more knowledgeable and putting it together pretty well. So
So
I
some
think you're
some
talking to him.
religions
Cool.
some religions have good moral characteristics for the building of a what I would consider a quote healthy society. That doesn't mean that the religion is inherently good, right?
He ain't talking no more. You make sense to me, bro.
I mean,
I agree with
listen,
you.
I'm an
This guy was
atheist.
just trolling you. What do you?
No, no, I wasn't.
Oh,
No. I mean, first of all, I still think this guy's probably a troll. But in the off chance that I'm incorrect, right? That's fine. I've been wrong about shit before. The fact is, he made a statement that I felt was like factually easy to like say, oh yeah, that's obviously true. And then we have a bunch of people going, oh well, that's not necessarily true, and trying to debate bro this guy into the ground. And the reality is, we all know that it absolutely was an integral part of human society, pretty
Right.
much
I mean,
since the
we're allowed
beginning
to
of it.
disagree on that.
What was that?
I disagree, but that's okay. Like, I'm not trying to pivot because I'm getting my ego bruised. I'm trying to pivot because we were talking about Billy's search for religion, and that's what the thing I was interested in.
But that's the
I just
fundamental.
don't agree with you fundamentally about the idea of religion being so linked to our progress. But
But
that's okay. Like, we're allowed to
that's one
disagree.
of Billy's points of why he wants to search for it. That's why we're talking about it. Is because that's one of his primary goals in searching for religion, is searching for some fundamental truth. And so that's why
All right,
we're
then
talking
let's
about it.
square these then. So is the evidence that religion has made the world more moral? Can that be proved?
Yeah, I think so. Actually, like unironically, yeah, I think
that's
it has evolved into being more moral. I definitely think that at certain points of the time, it was definitely immoral as fuck, right? But we've gotten to a point now under Judeo-Christian values in the United States, we illegalized slavery. Slavery is bad, right? So it had,
well.
and that had massive support via
Hold
the
up. No, stop,
Judeo-Christian
stop,
values.
stop, stop, stop right there. Stop right there. When they were trying to get rid of slavery, the so-called Judeo-Christian people who were railing against it and using things like the curse of Ham to justify slavery.
Somewhere.
Yeah. So this is my question. So Luminaire is exactly right that religion has been used to justify virtually anything. So my question is, how can it make a more moral world if you can defend
All
almost
right.
anything with religion?
let's put it like this: you are whatever your mindset is, right? So your religion is going to be your mindset. If you're a Satanist, you're going to behave as an evil person. If you're a
Well, that's
Christian, you're
not
going to
an accurate
behave as a
revolution.
good
Yeah,
person.
that's
We don't
actually.
believe
I'm
Satanists are
sorry,
bad
Bill.
people.
I'm sorry, Billy. You're completely
It's
wrong.
not what Satanism is.
Yeah, Satanism is actually much more peaceful than the Christian religion you're familiar with, for
Talk about
sure.
trolling.
Yeah.
Satanism is just trolling Christianity. It's not an actual.
Yeah,
like,
you're making the claim that like modern day religion is like better and more peaceful and more developed.
Yeah, what do you think
It's
did that?
really not. It is secular values. It has been dragged kicking and screaming
The
throughout
scientific
history
revolution and
by
enlightenment are why
secular
religion is
values.
so benign
All
now.
the- It's because it's been forced to be by the secular values of modern society. All these religious fundamentals you see in our country right now, if they were not raised in an environment where it is not okay to use your religion to go around killing people, that is exactly what they would do.
And once again, this Judeo-Christian value shit is a new invention. This was never believed by any of the people during this time period. America, in particular, was founded on secular humanist values developed by people like Voltaire during the 1700s, who were enlightened philosophers. They were not talking about fucking Judaism. They didn't give a shit. They didn't believe any of that stuff.
Christians and Jews hated each other. More accurately, the Christian church bullied the shit out of Jews throughout most of history. The very term Judeo-Christian values was invented when Islam showed up to shit on Islam.
Correct. To
Do
say
we have
who we are,
time?
who we're not.
Okay,
Do we have time
we're
for
talking.
someone to explain Satanism to me?
Sure,
I've
very
never
briefly.
heard of it being peaceful before.
Satanism.
Yeah, I'm actually a member of the Satanic Temple.
Okay, then you know, like,
it's all you, dude.
what is
So
it?
there are different branches of Satanism. It's not just like there's a billion different branches of Christianity. But when someone says they're a Satanist these days, it overwhelmingly means that they're part of a like counterculture movement. So like the Satanic Temple, which is one of the bigger ones, does not actually worship Satan. They don't even believe he's real. They admire him as a fictional character, as a role model of rising up against authority. It is a very much like a counterculture. There are a lot of atheists in the Satanic Temple. There's a lot of pagans in the Satanic Temple, and there's just it's more of a like counterculture, act against authority type of thing. They do have like a list of values that are their like equivalent of the Ten Commandments, but none of them involve worshiping anything. None of them involve any like spiritual rituals or any of that. It's all stuff like value your body, trust science, be kind to people, don't murder anyone, all that kind of stuff. There are obviously like different branches of it. You'll find like different people believe different things, but by and large, the modern day Satanist environment is just a bunch of people who like to dress weird and put on goat horns and leather and stuff.
That's pretty cool. That's actually pretty cool to learn.
And I would like to tack something else onto that, which is if you read the Bible, it's kind of written as like a propaganda for Satan, right? Because you've got God performing, you got God performing all these horribly evil acts, and then you've got this person who's less powerful than God rebelling against the evil authoritarian of God, right? Going, oh no, let's not kill people, and God's like, fuck that, we're gonna flood the motherfucking earth, right? So if you read it in a context less brainwashed by Christianity, you'll see that Satan is kind of he's the good guy of the story. Doesn't kill anyone in the Bible, like nobody, 0 people.
And why would he do the bidding of God to run hell? Like, but once again, this is the power of narrative that you were talking about, Billy. That there's a way you can read the Bible where Satan is this uprising hero fighting against the evil authoritarian God, and there's a way you can read it where he's the usurper and the Loki like figure. But these are narratives, is what they are. They're not truth claims. So my question is, once again, if it's just narratives, what does it have to do with religion to be able to tell a good narrative that affects people and makes them change how they live their life?
I mean, you don't think that people that are Christians are better people because they're Christians?
No, that's demonstrably false, actually.
I actually unironically do totally agree with him on this. In fact, I would argue that
we actually have evidence of that.
I would argue that Christians as a whole have a great excuse to be pieces of shit because they have forgiveness waiting for them, right? So you can go and rape a kid, you can go murder someone, and as long as God forgives you, you still get the golden throne of heaven. Whereas if you're an atheist or you're someone who doesn't believe in that, you don't rape because it's bad. Right? You don't go and kill people because you don't want to be killed. It's bad, right? There's
because
reasons.
religion doesn't give an actual reason, as exactly as Nevik's saying, because not killing and not raping are self-evidently good. They lead to a better altruistic society where people aren't harming each other. Saying don't do it because punishment or do it because carrot is not an actual moral system. And this is why in the justice system, with all its flaws, acknowledging, religious people are overrepresented. And I'm not just saying, because they're a big part of the population. They are overrepresented compared to their amount of the population, because there are excuses and loopholes that religion builds in to be more appealing, to pull more people in, that lets you get away with bad behavior. So it is absolutely demonstrable that religious people do not behave more morally or ethically in a society.
In fact, one last thing to add to that, I would actually argue that they probably behave more immorally because of the excuse that they get, which is I still get to go to heaven even though I'm a piece of shit.
And the built-in institutional protection of being shuffled around if you're a priest, or being tax exempt to save money for litigation. Like, there's all sorts of ways in which being religious has advantages that lead to nothing but bad moral outcomes.
Yeah, there was actually a really good example of this you guys might have heard of a few months ago. You'd hear about the girl who called out her like rapist pastor in front of the whole church.
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, this happened a few months ago. So there was a girl who, I forget what state it was in, but she in church like stood up, and this is on video. They have this recorded. Stood up and like declared to the whole church like that priest raped me when I was a teenager. And she like just in front of everyone, like the whole accusation, the whole story, and then left. And a few weeks later, the priest comes back to the church, and this is also on video. He does this big like, oh, I was tempted by Satan. I repented. I'm okay. I asked for forgiveness, and like literally walks through the church, and everyone in the church like puts their hands on him and praises him for being such a good Christian and being saved and forgiven. And then they literally like cast his victim out of the church.
Well, to add to that, I was raised in a cult personally. It was a Christian-based cult, but it was basically Jews for Jesus, right? We followed the menorah, we did the dreidel shit, we did the Sabbath and all that, but we believed Jesus Christ was our savior, blah blah blah. It was a weird cult, right? And while I was in that cult, every fucking church I went to, a girl between the ages of 12 and 15 was fucked and or raped by a youth pastor of some sort. It happened every single year without fail. Without fail. Do you know how many 15-year-olds I've raped in my life? Zero. I like this. I like this guy. 3? No. It's 0, and it was not because true. But yeah, I don't do it because removing people's free will is fucked up. That's wrong. People need to be able to consent to things. Make informed decisions, and religion and brainwashing in general. And I would even go as far as to say that like on the far left and the far right, that we have cults forming that are suspending reality and operating inside of some sort of what I would consider like a religious dogma style situation.
It's interesting. You guys are really good at talking. I think I have a hard time understanding his accent. Anyways, while I've been talking, I looked into Satanism, and thanks, guys.
Yeah, Satanism is a cool, modern, secular way to rebel against what are perceived as authoritarian religions.
I like that because I've always been so against like growing up in a Christian household. I've always been so against it.
Maybe you found your religion in the end.
Yeah, right. Because like I've always viewed God as like I've always said, "Fuck that dude, bro. He's an asshole." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
I've always said that shit.
Yeah, that's Satan's view.
I mean, yeah.
God doesn't
See,
exist.
You see, guys,
Yeah, go
I got there.
sign up for the temple.
And
It's
once
rad.
again, this is evidence that Billy was not trolling. He was just looking for some answers here, and he got some answers.
You know what? I'm happy to admit when I'm fucking wrong. And so far, it seems like I was wrong about Billy. Billy's not just a troll; he's a
Yeah,
Satanist.
Satanism is absolutely
Is
a
kind of a troll.
modern secular humanist approach towards digging at religion and its perceived power in the world, especially in the U.S. There's a lot to it. There have been periods where there were devil worshippers and pagan worshippers that were seen as demonic, but the modern Satanism is almost entirely, as Luminaire was saying,
I like that. I've never.
moral response.
I mean, I don't believe in the devil, but like I just looked into that and like they don't either. It was kind of
Correct.
like wow, that's
It's
pretty cool.
the power of narrative, the power of God as a character, Jesus as a character, the devil as a character. If we view
Right.
these as purely narratives, we can glean some lessons off them. That's
And
what
let's be
Satanists like
clear.
to do. They like to subvert
Satan is
Christianity
based. Satan is based, right? He's super anti-killing people, right?
He's just asking questions, and God punishes him and Adam and Eve.
Exactly, and that's how I've always felt, like, because I've always been told I was gonna get punished for asking these questions. You know what I mean? And I'm like, if he punishes me for wondering when there is no clear answer, and it, like that's just bullshit.
I would argue you can totally arrive at a secular humanist way of conceiving this stuff, and communities that talk about that. But there's no problem with looking into Satanism or Wicca, who do similar things. Like that's what you're free to do. That's the point here. That's what's protected.
As a final conclusion to the Billy, the S. Billy arc, can we just go ahead and hear that you have officially converted to Satanism? Just as a final conclusion here.
Yeah, sure.
Boom.
Fuck that dictatorship, Yurt.
There you go. Progress.
Bring out the sacrificial goat infant right now. We'll have the ceremony.
Can I get an amen, guys? Can I get an amen?
Amen, babe.